What would you like me to do?
Okay, we're good now.
We're good now. Okay. Let's start again. All right. Hi, everyone. And welcome to a very special episode of Spherical Luminosity's YouTube Live. My name is Karen Chong, and many of you know me already, and some of you don't. So for those of you who are new, I help to catalyze awakening and a rise in human consciousness by releasing people's blocks at what I refer to as frequency level, amplifying your awareness of the divine within so you can recognize and live the abundance and limitlessness of your true nature as infinite, indestructible consciousness having embodied experience. This is your birthright, and the time for humanity to awaken to this possibility is now. Now, for those of you who are brand new to frequency work and don't know much about it, I'd recommend checking out episode 176, Frequency Work Fundamentals Reboot of my podcast, Mastering Your World Through Frequencies, on this very same channel. That is episode 176. Okay, so for today, without any further delay, many of you who've been following the work that I've been giving at my more advanced retreats and in programs like Living Your Brilliance and the Limitless Potential Mastermind have likely noticed that part of what we're doing is shifting away from the dominance of the mind and what I call the little s self into more of an awareness of the big S self, which is the aspect of you as that is infinite indestructible consciousness. So you can feel more connectedness, more of your own potential, and your limitless access to abundance on all levels. So that big S self is more accessible when you shift the predominance of your focus from your mind to the heart space. And so the mind is still a tool, but not nearly as dominant, okay? Which, for many people has led to much more joy, which is a very important thing, magic and synchronicity, not to mention much more effective manifestations. But one of the questions I get often when people are learning all this stuff is, this is amazing, and how do I change things at work or in business where I'm supposed to be primarily in my mind? So to help us answer that question, I have a really fantastic guest and I'm super excited about, by the name of Terri Levine. She's incredible. She's a total force of nature. She's been in the coaching industry for over 30 years, has written over, I think if I'm not mistaken, over 40 best-selling books, which is a feat in itself. And it is an expert in something that she's created and coined heartrepreneurship. So without further delay, let's bring Terri on.
Thank you, Karen. Excited to be with you. Very happy to be here.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you because it is a very important bridge that you are teaching. And I think a lot of people don't know that much about it. So I'm excited to hear some of your wisdom. So, yeah. So as I mentioned earlier in the intro, the focus of what we've been doing has been moving from the dominance of the mind into the heart space. And so my question to you is, well, you've coined the term heartrepreneurship. I think you were one of the first to start to coach in this way. So can you share a little bit about what you mean by heartrepreneurship and how you got there in the first place?
Yes, thank you. So just being transparent, I wasn't there to begin with.
Okay.
I had owned numerous businesses. I was CEO of a national healthcare company, and it was all about hustle, grind, push, 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 be the smartest person in the room. And when I got into the coaching industry, I knew I wanted to do things differently. I didn't know how, I just knew differently. And I was in the process of writing a book for my publisher, and he took the manuscript and he threw it on the floor, Karen, and he said, "I don't want this book." And I'm like, "Justin, we have a contract for this book." He said, "No, I've known you for 11 years. I want a book on heartrepreneur." And I go, "A heartre what?" And he's like, "I just think of you as a heartrepreneur. You do business with heart. I want that book." And I remember I was going on the train home from New York to Pennsylvania to Philadelphia, and I'm thinking, I'm like, what is he talking about? And then I had this moment, I could have had a V8 moment, like, oh, I get it. Doing business heart to heart. Changed the name of my company, trademarked Heartrepreneur, and the whole rationale behind it comes down to 3 words: authenticity, integrity, and transparency. You don't have to be that smart. You don't have to hustle and grind. You simply have to show up, be human, care about other people, listen, and share. And that's it. That's the whole secret right there.
That's awesome. Cool. And so now that sounds easy. So what makes, I mean, I heard what you said in terms of those 3 words. So in your worldview and what you've, because you've been doing this for a while now and writing about it, what does success look like then? If you're in heartrepreneurship versus say like traditional entrepreneurship, does it shift that? And how does that look?
That's
And what does that mean for people?
Thank you for asking that. It's a really powerful question. In my experience, I've worked with about 7,200 businesses to date. Most people go into being an entrepreneur because they want freedom. They don't want an employer, and then they don't know how to market. They don't know how to do sales. They don't know how to operate their business. So they learn, and no offense to our male friends, counterparts, they learn in a very masculine way how to do business. I'm going to overcome your objections. I'm going to wear you down. Do you say yes? Well, today, first of all, buyers are too smart for that. They're too well educated. They don't want that. And they tend to go and back up from that. So I think about it this way. I show up every day. I'll share this. I wear a little bracelet. It says serve and create on the front. And on the back, it has a check mark. As a heartrepreneur, I show up every day being my authentic self, transparent as could be, in integrity with anything I say or do. And I just share. I educate, I serve, I create value for people with no outcome in mind. And I allow people to raise their hands and either say, that's interesting, or tell me more, or not be interested. And every day we generate like-minded people in the same energy field. And it's such a joy of doing business, Karen.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, because what you're doing is or at least my interpretation would be, is like you're focusing on your own resonance, raising it, and allowing others to share in it if they choose to, essentially is what you're saying. And because your resonance is high enough, they want to. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I would say it in my language, but it sounds like we're saying the same thing. So for people who are entrepreneurs, there's the very like real day to day, you got to do the things that you don't necessarily want, right? You wear like 5 million hats. You have to learn stuff that intimidates you or you're confused by. I don't know if anyone else is.
I'm sure.
So, in terms of reconciling that with heartrepreneurship, how would you advise on that? And how would you advise on expanding your business? Because there is this cultural thing, belief, thought form, whatever you want to call it, about making money. So meaning if you're in your integrity, you're in your passion, on the one hand, you're supposed to do what you love. But on the other hand, how do you charge for that? And how do you grow your business in integrity? So I just asked you like 5 million big questions.
Okay. I think I get the essence of it. So the first thing I'm going to say is going to be so contrary. So everyone kind of brace yourselves, breathe, and get ready. Stay in your zone of genius. My zone of genius is not being on the internet. It's not posting on social media. It's not doing errands. It's not filing papers. It's not making sure I send out the right independent contractor agreements or bills. None of that. My zone of genius is business consulting. That's all I do. So I have a team that does all the things that I could care less about, nor do I want to learn. Yes, I could put up a website. I know how. Of course, I can post on social media. No, my zone of genius and what I get paid for is not any of those tasks. So I'm going to say this. Think of a CEO that you really like and admire, past or present, and wear that CEO's head for a while. So every time I would be tempted to do something, I used to ask myself, would Steve Jobs be doing this? No, he's the visionary. And I would just find someone else to do it. And so instantly when you start a company, I teach my client family members, you've got to surround yourself with other people so that you stay in your zone of genius. So then, of course, people say, okay, well, Terri, how am I going to get clients? If I'm just doing, what I love, where are they going to come from? And how do I get paid for it? This is again going to sound contrary. I have never focused on the money. I have never focused on the money. Even at times when I really needed the money, I never focused on the money. I just showed up and I said, I'm just going to serve. I trust in the universe. I trust that if I'm creating and helping and transforming lives, that the universe will provide. And it always does. It has not let me down. I've been in business for over 44 years. It's never let me down. So interestingly enough, I want to share this. Somebody, tried to pitch me something the other day. And he said, well, how much money do you want to make? I said, that's the wrong question for me. He said, what? Everyone wants to make more money. I said, I actually don't. He said, what? I said, it's not about more material stuff for me. I don't care. If you can tell me you can get me in front of more people to transform more lives, I'm good with it. So when you're pricing your services, when you're doing whatever, just look at realistically, what do I need to make? Therefore, what do I need to charge? And then am I giving enough value to charge that amount? And if you're showing up every day, and I have to say this, a client just said this to me the other day. He said, when you told me just show up and be you, I thought I'm never going to get any prospects. And he really filled the mastermind in 5 days, filled it with no marketing, just showing up every day, giving value, and at the end saying, I have some spaces in my mastermind. If you're interested, you know how to reach me. That was it. We don't have to sell and pitch. So there's a lot of contrast in what I just said.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And so I think based on what you just said, it's interesting because you said something that I feel a lot of people don't feel they have permission, which is to not be online. Because what you said was like for him, social media wasn't his forte or whatever it was. So, there's so much pressure these days to be on social media, which I, personally don't find to be my medium. And interestingly, because you were here on YouTube, but like Instagram and stuff like that, because like what we do isn't particularly like explainable in a 1 minute or less clip. There is something about depth that is difficult to convey in a very short period of time. And I feel like people's attention spans can be very limited these days. So what do you say to somebody who's like, okay, you've just said, be myself and show up. So what would you advise if somebody isn't wanting to do social media or isn't particularly comfortable in front of a camera or that type of thing? You know what I mean? They're like, that's not really what I do. What would you advise to stay within the heartrepreneurship framework?
So first of all, your company or your brand does need to have some social media presence. Now, I'm being transparent. That's not done by me. It's done by a team of people. What is done by me, that because I enjoy it, is I run a Facebook community, Heartrepreneurs with Terri Levine, because I enjoy it. Okay, otherwise I wouldn't be there. I don't check the news feed. I'm not checking in and tweeting. That's not me. What I do is I go and serve this community of people that are called Heartrepreneurs that want to do business in this way. Now, if you don't want to do a community, that's fine. Find what works for you. Is that holding live events? Is that doing Facebook Live, YouTube Live? I'm not saying to be all over social media, every platform, answering and posting. I'm saying who can you show up for and create value for? I do want to address one thing, the I'm not comfortable on camera. I have literally almost forced clients in front of the camera. That's when you're okay? That's our ego. Leave your ego at home. If you're truly in the business of serving people and you have a message and want to impact people, just show up. People don't need to look at you and go, let me look at your hair and your makeup. They're listening to your message. You're judging you. Let it go. Just show up. And by the way, when you show up, just be the best version of you. Be the most honest and transparent version of you, nothing else. So again, it doesn't have to be live. It could be through writing books, writing articles, doing podcasts, guesting on podcasts, webinars. You've got to show up in some way so people can hear that deeper message and get to know, we know this, know you, like you, trust you, and either resonate with your message or be repelled by it. And either way is just fine, because you only want the people in your circle, in your sphere, in your world, sphere, interesting word, who unite with you, right? And that's, for me, that's why I love having a community of whatever, 8,000 people that are like-minded, that I feel like are my friends.
Mhm. So in a way, you're saying serve your tribe, basically.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you find your tribe? So let's just say, in case it's helpful, now, correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, you coach coaches, or do you also coach business owners as well?
I coach coaches and small business owners both. Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. So if I'm a small business owner and I am like a healer person, right? So I'm an acupuncturist,
Mhm.
just imagine somewhere in the United States or wherever. And I resonate with this and I want to serve a greater community.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure where to start, right? And I'm like, okay, like I run my service in integrity. I'm really good at what I do. I care about my people, and I need to grow my business.
Okay.
What do I focus on? Because like I'm you know what I mean? Like I'm a healer person. I'm
Oh,
not like super marketing person. I don't really know what to do first. I don't know what to do.
okay. So I'm going to use a real client who's an acupuncturist and now is my acupuncturist. First thing I would say is find like-minded healers. So she found a yoga studio, a massage therapist, a chiropractor, a Reiki person, and one more an iridologist. She found 5 people that were in the same community in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. She didn't know any of them. We found them online, and she made connections with them, and she invited each of them to breakfast. And over breakfast, she talked about her services and what she did. At the time, she had 4 clients. Okay, she had just opened, and
Okay.
they've all been in business for a while. And she said, "I would like to work with your clients, and as I grow my practice, I would like to refer my clients to you. How can we start something together so we can create something that helps people in even more ways?" Well, at first, she started to get a few referrals. Then one person was holding an open house at their studio and said, "Why don't you come and do a presentation?" And she started to grow her base from that. Then what she actually did at this point, this is 4 years later, they merged and they have a studio called Christmas. And all of them are housed in one location. And have an incredible holistic experience. So there's ways of doing this. Just find like-minded people, and you don't need a lot of them, and share your audience.
That's awesome.
It's fun too.
Yeah, it's totally fun because now it's community, right? You're basically saying create your own community and from there create something even better that has a bigger ripple effect, which is awesome. Cool. And now what would you say, because we have a number of people in our community who are health coaches or business coaches or life coaches, if they want to, and some of them are, they're in the coaching industry, so they're not like clueless about the fact that coaching is helpful and probably have received coaching themselves. So what would you recommend because there's so much, first of all, there's like 5 million coaches out there right now. I feel like this industry has exploded in a way that's maybe not always the best because people don't really know what coach means anymore. I feel
Right.
you're just like, what does that mean? I don't know. So if you are someone who's in the coaching industry yourself, and you're saying be you, which I hear you, and I think is very important because the resonance, from my perspective, the resonance you are specific. So you're going to call the people that need you to you. But there's a lot of different things that coaches can do, and how do you distinguish yourself? You know what I mean? Out there. Do you recommend? And how do you not sound like you're just this total, because I think the fear for people, especially for women, because of the cultural story that we're told, is that if we're too heart-centered, we're going to look flaky. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to seem like we can really help. That is in there in the collective discussion. So anyway, I was wondering if you could share some of your wisdom for them.
Yeah, this is one area I love to address. So when I first started in this industry, I've been here a long time, no one knew what coaching was. I would say coach, and people would say, "Oh, what's sport?" And I'd be like, "No, not," and they had no idea. Okay, now you're so right. Everyone is a coach, right? And especially when the pandemic came, It's like no one had training. They just put up a shingle and I'm a coach and when I talk to some of these people, I'm like, well, what are the core competencies of coaching? What's a powerful question? It's like, huh? Okay. So the first fact that we have to face is the industry has become, everyone's calling themselves a coach. So if you are a coach, and I'm really talking a coach that has coaching skills, there's a few things that you have to keep in mind. One is no one cares that you're a coach. You don't want to go out there and go, I'm a life coach, I'm a business coach, I'm a health coach. Big deal. There's a million of us. You don't start with that. And I'll teach you what to do instead. That's number one. Number two, if what you say is something that any other coach can say, you're a cookie cutter, so you don't want to do that. I want you to look at your website, look at your social media, look at your email, podcast, whatever, and ask yourself, could somebody else scratch out my name and put their name here? And in most cases, when people come to me, I look at their sites, I look at their stuff, and I'm like, I could put my name right there. There is nothing unique about you. And the other question is, who cares? I've been in business 20 years. I could care less. How does that help me in my results, right? It's not about you. So first of all, you pick a small, narrow niche. You don't want to work with everybody. So as an example, one of my clients, a very successful health coach, she only works with women from 30 to 60 who have hormonal issues. Listen how specific this is, that is causing problems with their gut. Nothing else. Okay. A specific target audience. So there's not a lot of lookalikes. That's number one. Number two, after you pick a small niche, you create what is called, and it's a trademark term of Heartrepreneur, a core unique positioning statement. We call it a CUPS, core unique positioning statement. Not an elevator pitch, all this stuff that people are taught. What is it? It starts with I serve, I help, I support. Don't start with I'm a coach. I help, I serve, I support. Then specifically who? So I might say, I help, in this example, I'll say, I help coaches, and then you tell them do what? Transform from being concerned about sales and marketing to having a conveyor belt of qualified prospects. Okay, so it takes you from where to where, and this is the magic. Now you name your proprietary system, method, whatever it is, through the Heartrepreneur proprietary live well, earn well method. No one else can make the claim. And unless you're doing that, what you're going to be competing on is, I look at a coach here, they charge this much, you charge this much, that one's cheaper, I'll hire them. I'm not cheap. I tell people that all the time. I am not inexpensive. I'm up there. Okay. You can look at me and all the other coaches and you can make a choice. I'm definitely different. You're not going to find another one of me. So that, I feel like, is really, really important. I hope people are breathing that in and really getting it in their bones.
Brilliant. Yeah. I think it's because it's really clear. It's like, this is who I'm calling for. This is what I do. And it's through this method, which is very specific to me. And the wonderful thing, I think, about creating a framework and then naming it, as you said, it gives you authority, right? Because you're the one who took the time to create it. And it also is, even in the words that you choose, is representative of who you are, right? The resonance that you carry, who you want to attract, and what they want to transform into through your help, right? So it's really beautiful because it's so specific. And I think that in that specificity, it allows the person who's saying it to step into their authority in the space that they're creating of their own business, which is an expression of them. So I think that's really wonderful. And
Exactly.
I hope other people heard that very specific formula because it's really helpful. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. One thing I will say is, once you have that, it's amazing. It's like you attract the right people and you do repel the wrong people. So people have asked me very often, how many clients have you had that were really not the right clients? And I've had around 7,200 clients, and I've had 2. And both of them were my fault. As I was taking them on, I had this little bit out of kilter feeling. and I don't do this anymore. I said yes, right? And both of them ended up being totally wrong. And I had to fire them and return their money. It was just super uncomfortable. Now I am so crystal clear. And if someone's not in alignment, no, I'm not going to take your money. I'm not going to waste your time. So when you have that clarity and you're really specific in that core unique positioning, that to me is where the magic happens. We get hand raises of the right people every single day, and we're not hunting for them. We're not all over social media. We're not DMing people and sending a million emails. It's a natural, organic process. I do going to share one quick thing with you that just happened. So I was on a retreat a couple weeks ago, and there was about 10 of us at the retreat that were going to go do a nature walk. And we all met together in the lobby. None of us had said a word yet because we were waiting for the gentleman who was going to lead the walk. And this woman comes over to me and she's smiling like at me, and she goes, "Are you a life coach or a psychologist?" And I go, "Why would life? I go, "I am. Why?" She goes, "You just give off the energy." And instantly I wanted to connect with you. And what I tell people is that happens to me all the time because I live and breathe this. This isn't Terri at business, Terri at home. That's the authenticity. So I just wanted to share that part.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we're very aligned in many ways because that's one of the core essentials that I teach too, which is to be, a lot of people in spirituality in the new age world will talk the talk of spirituality and then act like jerks, right? So I called it fundamental authenticity. Are you being congruent through your actions, your words, and what you aspire to be in terms of your frequency resonance, in terms of who you are, in terms of your spirituality and your awakening? And what I'm hearing you say is the more you are, what you want to bring into the world, what you want to create, the more people are aware of that resonance and are attracted to it. And it's sort of, to me, another way that we co-create our reality, to be this, to have the opportunity to bring in a specific resonance to help others, to be something that is congruent with us, that we want to, that we're passionate about, that we're authentic in, that allows us to be more of ourselves, because it is ourselves. It's in a certain forum in the sense of like, yes, I get to help you in a specific way, but it's still you. And it's funny because I think a lot of people will compartmentalize, it's like, I'm like this in my spiritual practice, I'm like this at work, and I'm like this with my family, and I'm like this with my friends. But what you're speaking to, at least from what I'm hearing, is like being just more you
100%.
in all aspects, which I think is
all aspects, yeah. It's funny. There's a person that I know who he claims to be a shaman, and I used to follow him on social media until he started calling people out with like language that was really incredible to me. And I stayed kind of as a voyeur on the page, really watching, like, really, are people attracted to this or not? And then I came to find out he's been homeless for like 3 years. He doesn't really have clients. However, he pretends that he's this, super successful, but you can tell if you're looking for authenticity and you're a shaman, you're not going to be on social media calling people out and name calling people and conspiracy theorying it up. You have to be that person who you claim you are all the time. And so I'm going to speak to coaches for just a minute. I can tell the fake coaches in 1 second because they're not living their life as a coach. They don't speak as a coach. So, it's not like I turn coaching skills on and off. They're just in my DNA. It's just how I live my life. And I always tell my husband, Mark, he doesn't like being coached at all. I don't coach him. However, I speak coach. That's all I can speak. He's like, "Are you speaking coach to me?" "Yeah, honey, I am."
And I've met Mark.
I know you have. He's very analytical. He's all finance and analytical. And I'm the other side. We make up a whole person.
Nice. Cool. And so I was wondering if you could make a key distinction, because I think it's important, Terri, when people enter the field of coaching. I think, because you were saying I speak coach.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference, at least from my perspective, with the good coaches that I've been fortunate enough to work with, between like trying to push your agenda on someone, right? And then holding the space of neutrality, saying, okay, well, here's what I suggest is something that looks to me would be a better path for you, or whatever, however you frame it. I'm not obviously a coach. I don't know what I'm saying here, but whatever. But can you talk to the
Yeah.
difference between just wanting to tell people what the hell you think is right versus coaching. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? To me, they're quite different. And I think it can be confusing for people. Yeah.
So I'm going to make a distinction between coaching and consulting. And I do consult at the same time. However, I always say this, Karen, can I put my consulting hat on? Because I really want to give you a piece of advice for you to consider. As a coach, I would say something more like, Karen, what ideas do you have? Let's toss them out. Let's brainstorm. So it comes more from me helping the client come up with their own ideas and agenda. However, I will tell you that in my experience, having owned 2 coach training schools and a business consulting institute, the best coaches and the ones that I've hired, all of them have some consulting. Because let's say you come to me and you want me to help grow your business, and I go, well, Karen, what about this idea? You go, I don't know. I don't know if the truth is, if you did know all the answers, you probably wouldn't be hiring me. And so what I'll ask for permission is, can I give you a thought, an idea, a suggestion, and only with permission. And I'm always very clear. Now I'm putting a consulting hat on. Doesn't mean you're going to take my advice. I'm going to give you what I would do, what Terri would do, or what I think you should do. Doesn't mean it's right for you. And that's, to me, the best coaches can put both together.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
I think that's a really helpful distinction between coaching and consulting, because I don't think people think about that, or at least the regular lay person doesn't.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And then just a question for somebody who, for some of the people who are watching this now or perhaps later, there are many of us who look for coaching, but will never be coaches, for example, so I'm never going to be a coach.
Yeah.
It's not my gift. It's not where I sit.
Definitely.
So, but I do receive coaching, for business, nutrition, a whole bunch of different things, because if somebody has an idea that I resonate with and it makes sense to me, I'm going to implement it because it's not my area of expertise. So I'm asking them to directly coach me on something where I need to become stronger because I don't have enough knowledge or know-how or mindset or whatever it is that you want to talk about to be able to do the thingy.
Yep.
Whatever that is. But as we talked about before, there's like 5 million different coaches who say different things. And as a layperson, how would you suggest that I best choose a coach? And then I have a separate question that I'll ask later.
Okay.
Before we move to questions.
So the first question I always tell people to ask is, how did you get trained as a coach? This is a very first question. And you're going to get this a lot. It's life experience. No, they don't have specific skills then. They're more like a wonderful friend, right?
Yeah.
They need to tell you that, and I don't care if they have credentials after their name or not. Just tell me that you trained somewhere to get this. I don't care where the heck you trained. That's number one. Number two, I would also ask, so as an example, let's say I see this all the time. I love this. I can help you earn $100,000, all these claims. Great. Can you tell me a little bit about how you've done that yourself? And sometimes you're going to hear, oh, well, I haven't done that. Well, obviously they don't have the skills that you need. The third thing, and to me, almost the most important for me, I have 8 coaches right now. I have coaches in all different aspects of my life, my health, my relationships, and my business. I have to really love the person. I have to be like, oh my God, I want to hang out and spend time with them. I have one coach, I work with her every Friday for 2 hours, and she's a personal coach. And we just have a good time. I get tons of value. We laugh, we smile. I've never met her. She lives in Mexico. I consider her a close friend. You want to have that kind of relationship because you need to open up to your coach. You need to be able to open up, go deep. And I guess one last thing I'll add, Karen, you need to trust them. If you don't feel a trust in the relationship, move, go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say that's true, even if the relationship starts off being wonderful, right? So it's now been, I don't know, like 2 years. You've had a wonderful relationship. You've gained a lot of insight. Your business or whatever it is that you're working on has grown, relationship, whatever,
Yep.
body, whatever. And then all of a sudden something happens. I think where you're like, either I'm not getting enough value or something has changed in this person, or I don't quite trust them, or something has shifted, right? Because we change as people, hopefully. And as a result, I think permission to be like, either I'm going to take a break from this for a little bit, or shift to someone else? Because I think sometimes as women, we can, not all women, but for some women, they can feel bad because they're like, well, I've had this very close relationship with this person for, a significant period of time. Is it just me? Is it, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of people will have hesitation around that. But my suggestion is always to follow your intuition first. So follow your own knowingness of what it is that raises your own frequency resonance that helps you be the best person that you can be in whatever facet that is in your life. And if that is not happening, then to reassess and to be constantly assessing, not because you're like paranoid and freaked out, but just because you're like, okay, checking in with myself. Is this feeling good to me still? Is it still something that buoys me up? And if yes, wonderful. If no, then time to assess and see,
Yeah.
is this still a good fit?
My first life coach that I hired before I entered the industry, I had her for about a year, and I kept feeling for about 2 months that I had outgrown her in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that, I don't want her to feel bad. Because we had a rapport. And she said to me, Terri, I think I would hire you. You don't need to have me anymore. And I had the ultimate respect for that, the ultimate. And we've maintained a friendship now over 30 something years.
Oh, it's amazing.
No, I don't have that anymore. I had a mentor for a long time ago, a speaker mentor, and he was amazing. We became very close friends. Our families were friends. And I don't know if his messaging changed or I just changed. It wasn't resonating at all. And now I just stepped up to the plate very quickly. I said, I love and adore you. I'd love to stay friends. I just don't think that this is what I want in my life right now. And he said, I thought you were going to come to that conclusion. So as soon as you feel that in your intuition, and whether that's in your gut or whether every time you're getting together, you get a weird feeling, just notice it, observe it, witness it, and then listen to your inner guidance system. It's always pointing you to the right direction. You just trust it more.
Totally. Agreed. Awesome. All right. So we're going to open the floor to questions because Terri has shared all this amazing wisdom with us. And before I do that, Terri, can you just tell people, because I'm going to forget, I'm terrible at remembering these things. So before I forget this very important question, people are wanting to work with you because they want to expand their business and they're thinking, oh, this seems like something I want to investigate. Well, how would they do that? And then we'll launch into questions for everybody.
The best way is just go to my website. There's tons of free resources there. And that's heartrepreneurship.com. So it's heart, R-E, and then preneur, heartrepreneurship.com. And there's a bunch of free resources. Grab whatever. And there's a contact form. And I will say this, while I'm the visionary of the company and I'm not the one on social media, and I'm transparent about that, all those emails and contact forms, they don't get triaged. They do come to me, and I respond to emails all the time. So feel free, fill out a contact form. Ask me if you have questions or you want me to review something in your business. This is the stuff I love doing every day.
Cool. Awesome. It's really lovely that you actually read all those forms because a lot of people don't.
I know. So I always make a point of saying it.
Cool. All right, everyone. So with all of this, we're going to open the floor to questions. If you have questions for Terri or myself, if you want to put them in the chat function, we will receive them. I always feel like there's this awkward little pause here.
It's always that way. The other day I was on a Facebook Live and I said, I don't see any questions. Well, people were still typing and I wasn't giving them enough time. And then they asked.
I know. Well, whilst you guys are thinking of your questions, perhaps, Terri, you can answer one more of mine, if that's all right.
Yes.
So if that's okay. So if you're not an entrepreneur, okay, and you work in a business, let's say you're an employee.
Yep.
How would you recommend, I know this is almost like a trite question, but I think it's so important. It's like, how do you bring that authentic being that you are in integrity, like you just mentioned, those principles that you mentioned for entrepreneurship, into your work environment? Do you know what I mean? Because you're not the boss of it, right? You're the employee. Do you have some advice around that?
I do. And so when I was CEO of a national healthcare company, I'm being very transparent. I wasn't aligned with the way the company was being run because it really wasn't being run in terms of really caring about employees. So I made it my business in my little section of the company to really care about my employees. I also lived by some of my guiding principles. One is, although everybody gossiped, I wouldn't partake in that. Although everyone was, backstabbing and ganging up on people, I just didn't partake in that. And so I was just authentically me. I was spreading positive messages, and I have this little notepad. It's still on my desk, and it says, "I appreciate you because," and I was handing out notes like that. When I first started in this company, they were like, "This woman is a freak show. She's insane. No one had done this and no one had seen it." That's how I've lived my life. I carry notepads like that everywhere. I give it out in the grocery store, in the gas station. That's just how I live. And so I just stayed in my authentic lane. This is how I live. You either accept me or you don't need to. Now, I can't say that I made a lot of friends in the company. I can say that I changed the way a lot of people operated within that system, even though I wasn't trying to change anybody. I was just doing me. So that's my advice, Karen. And when I work with employees, I always say, let's just show up and learn how to do you. Even if other people are doing something that's contrary to you, you stay consistent to your guiding principles. And I always did. And last piece of this, I quit the day that they asked me to do something completely out of integrity. I just said, I have to leave. Like, that is pushing me to a place where my principles will be violated. So just stay in your lane, do your thing, do you, be you. And I'm telling you, you'll be able to not only survive, you can actually thrive.
Yeah, I agree. And even if it's not in that workplace, you can thrive in a place where I feel like in that story, it's like you recognize, all right, well, that's not the resonance I want to be in. That's not what I want to embody. That's not how I want to be as a human.
Right.
And if this is what they're requiring of me, this is no longer a good fit for me. So I'm going to find something that is. So that's also really valuable too. I feel like sometimes you need that like contrast.
Yeah.
To like, clarify what it is that you are and you are not. I mean, you were really clear, but you know what I mean? I think people experience that for that reason.
I was actually glad it showed up in the way when it was like, now you need to do this. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. It's like, no, we're not asking you. We're telling you. I'm like, oh. I heard what you said. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And I came back with my resignation letter. And they're like, oh, you can't quit. I'm like, no, I just did. I'm done. So, you also, and I want to back up to this point, you have to know your own guiding principles. It's the first thing I do with every client family member. They're like, okay, help me grow my business. No, we're going to look at you, your life. That's why it's called live well, earn well. Let's do you. Let's be you. Let's have your rules to live by. Let's set up your life the way you want. Design a delicious life that matches your spirituality. And then we plug that into your business. Whole different ballgame.
Totally different ballgame. That's awesome. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we have 2 questions. So go for it, Chris. All right. Can you read that, Terry? I have to lean in, people. I'm sorry.
Spiritual, energetic tools in your practice. Are you forthright with them or in the back? Oh, that is a really good question. Thank you for asking, Tatiana. I'm pretty upfront with people because I am going to bring in spiritual values. I am what woo-woo, right? We're going to talk about energy. We're going to muscle test. I'm not going to surprise you with these things. So upfront, I will say to people as we're chatting and I'm seeing if they're a good fit, I'm going to say, let me tell you that I also do energy work, that I am very spiritual, and that I am very holistic in how I will work with you. Does that work for you? So I lay that framework, and I'll tell you why, Tatiana. Many years ago, I didn't do that, right? And I was on with someone, and I started talking about, well, the universe, and they're like, the what? Like, okay, we're not aligned. So yeah, I would recommend. And by the way, I have to say this, that has brought me more clients and not less. There are more people who are embracing this, who are ready for this. One of my clients said that I took him out. It's so funny. He said, you took me out of the spiritual closet. I was hiding in there and you brought me out. So yeah, I would go ahead and be forthright. Thank you for asking.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would agree. I think the thing that we have to be careful of, and the thing that I had to work with a lot, was my own distortion with regards to self-worth and what it was that I was. People would ask me what I did, and I'd be like, okay, so, and I'd always preface it. You have to watch your own languaging because it's an indication of the distortion patterns you run, at least in my language. So
Yeah.
meaning I would say, okay, well, it's a little bit weird, but this is what it is. And I'm like, why do I keep saying it's a little bit weird?
That's interesting.
Like, because it's like, I'm afraid that they're going to judge me. So you see, I'm running a lot of distortion patterns with regards to self-worth, all this sort of stuff. So I had to clear my own stuff and be like, even though it felt a little scary, this is part of the confirm the removal pattern, Tatiana. Even if it feels scary at first, when the first time you say it, you're going to feel like a total idiot. At least I did. Okay, maybe you won't.
I think so.
I don't know what your experience is going to be, but you're going to be terrified a little bit that they're going to be like, well, you are a freak. But the thing is, you can't hide it for them because it's who you are.
Exactly.
And that's like part of your strength. So may as well just be like, okay, let's release those distortions that keep me from saying that, be a little wobbly and be like, just what Terri shared. And then you'll become more comfortable with it and it will become your superpower because
it is. I'll tell a quick story about that, Tatiana. I was hired to do work in a corporation and they all came in their suits and they all came in super serious. And they hired me to be a business consultant. And I said, okay, we're going to start with an opening meditation. And the CEO was in the front row and went, seriously, looked like total panic. And I, said, close your eyes. About 300 people in the room, and almost everyone did. There was 5 that their eyes were wide open, staring at me. We did a meditation. I did my thing. That company hired me, and I was in that company doing an engagement for 12 years.
Wow.
So I just decided to do the meditation because I like to set intentions prior to just jumping into something. And I thought, I'm grounding whether they like it or not. And it ended up, they not just liked it, they loved it. And it became part of their standard practice. When I wasn't there and they had meetings without me, they were meditating. How about that?
So awesome. Good for you. That's amazing.
Don't be afraid, Tatiana. Go for it.
Awesome. I love that story. All right.
Mauricio, fascinating discussion. Question: what's the biggest transformation your clients experience when working with you and your team? Oh, I love that question too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really 2. The first is they actually have designed their life. They're not living by default. They show up every day with intentions in every area of their life, their health, their relationship. I mean, every single area. And I always say there is no wheel of life. The wheel is never going to be balanced in a circle. And it was funny. A mechanic friend of ours said years ago, no tire on your car is a perfect circle. They all. So I'm like, oh. So we look at your life. We design your life the way you want to live your life. After we design your life, we design your business to fit into your life. And then once we have that, we go ahead and we design from your perfect day, your perfect week, your perfect everything. Now, how do we attract perfect clients? And it's in that order. So they get all those transformations. And the distinction, Mauricio, is most people try and do the last thing. Help me scale my business. Help me get clients. Help me make more money. When all this other stuff is out of balance, there's no reason. When you do it this way, it's not only easier, it's so intentional that the results happen and the transformations happen so much faster. So that's the biggest transformation. And I'll add one thing, even in corporations that we work in, we do it the same way. So the employees have lives, they're people, and we're helping them design their lives. At first, some corporations are like, no, we just need them to do their work better. Yeah, we're not going to do their work better if they got screwed up stuff going on at home. So we do it both ways, Mauricio.
Cool. Yeah, it's a whole holistic approach.
Exactly.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for asking that question. That was great. All right. Well, Terri, thank you so much for sharing everything you have. It's been a really fun and really very fascinating conversation. Thank you for your frankness and being creating all this change. I mean, in the corporate world, boy, do we need it. So in any case, I hope you all found huge nuggets of wisdom in what Terri has shared with us. And you can find her at heartrepreneurship.com. Did I say that right?
You said it perfectly. Yes.
All right, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.